these are the areas that I've come up with. You may have other thoughts.
No, we need to get those technology students in classes. That is shameful that we are not meeting our needs.
Well, but we need to be mindful that is one need, and it is a great need. That doesn't mean that it outweighs any other needs. So
I understand that.
You know, I don't.
All of them are very important.
Right, and so I think the first question is, do we want to? We already have a $6 million deficit. Do we want to have a $7 million deficit so that we can make some slight improvements on our school system?
That's the question.
That's the question. Before we start arguing about the allocations, we need to decide as a board where we want to go with that.
And let me further Devin's point, because this has always been the dilemma at this part of the Board of Education, whether or not to temper your requests based on what you would think revenue is going to be, or ask for what you believe the needs of the system are. If you don't ask, you don't have the opportunity to talk and discuss the need for it. If you do ask, then it gives you the forum and the platform to say, we need these things and here's why. You may or may not get the funds. If you don't get the funds, we can make the appropriate reductions or make other decisions to reduce in other areas of the budget to support these positions. So your dilemma is, you know you have a $6 million gap. This would make it a $7 million gap. You're not locked into anything, but at least you get to express what the needs of the system are.
Okay.
Continue.
I think we should go for the $7 million to ask for what we need. That's what I think we should do. And then like you said, we're not locked in. So if we don't ask, we're not going to get it.
And I would emphasize the point, these are not wants.
No.
No.
No,
These are things that we have a recognized deficit in. Not just these areas, but these are the ones that I'm bringing to you.
I completely agree. You know, these are positions that are needed, that we can move these around. I'm not completely convinced of this ratio, the 5 to 5 to 5, but since it is the same dollar amount, you know, I'm comfortable saying, yeah, there's 15 positions. Let's move them around, and maybe later on, you know, have a more in-depth discussion of, you know, where we need those resources, whether it's gifted and talented or special education or even the career in tech.
And remember, the next step in this process, if I consolidate these and there's agreement to consolidate these into my proposed budget, then we go out to public hearing. Then you get the public's viewpoint to make a determinations whether or not this is the allocation that our public wants. Any other thoughts?
Well, I think we need to hear from everybody.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess my biggest sticking point right now is I fully agree with the negotiated agreements being a top priority. The sticking point that I have right now is, Mr. Hartlove, when you said that this is not transformational in any way. This is basically just taking the school system exactly how it exists today and moving it forward 1 year. Right, so we're really not thinking outside the box or thinking transformationally at all. So I have a problem with saying, well, we're going to increase we have a $6 million deficit and we're going to increase it to a $7 million deficit because we want to consider all of these things. That's not a comprehensive look at things from my perspective. So I think it's going to be problematic to increase the deficit. I think we have to look holistically and say, this has to be done. You can't just say, well, I want to increase the expenditures without looking at the other side of the equation as well.
The revenue.
The revenue side of things.
Well, we're not there yet. And certainly there are opportunities that we can discuss in the coming months to say, okay, we've identified these as needs. Now let's talk about revenue. What are the ways to pay for that?
Right. I mean, I agree that these are areas of need right now, but I think it's unrealistic to say let's just put it out there right now as one of our top priorities until we look at the revenue side of things, look at the laundry list of things from the CEC, look at the laundry list of things that you've put together that you've done over the years to see if that sparks any brainstorming and other ideas. I felt like if we make some progress on the revenue side, I'd feel a whole lot more comfortable with then coming back to the expenditure side.
Now, and I will say just one interpretation. When Chris said we're bringing this forward at the same, that included reducing by 15 teachers. These will offer some small improvements to the system. So it is $1 million worth of improvement.
And I don't want to undersell or the negotiated agreements. I mean, that's a huge item.
That's important.
That's a huge, it's, when I say bring the organization forward, it's a negotiated agreement, so it's something we want to honor, but it also is, it's something that goes towards the Vision 2018. There is an improvement there as well as it being a mandatory item because we've negotiated, but it does, I think it moves us in the right direction on one of our goals. So it's not that we're not addressing anything with this budget, but I think we're bringing the organization forward, we're doing what we're currently doing and continuing to try to address the salary concern.